Welcome to your 2021 Mazda MX-5. I'm specifically with the GT-RF. RF stands for retractable fastback. You can tell that because the window is right there and there is nothing above it. Well, there is a roof, it's just in the trunk right now. It's 31 degrees, it's the middle of July, it is convertible season, so as such, top has been down for almost the entire week I've had the vehicle where it hasn't been raining. I'm going to mix things up for this video because I've had on average 2 MX-5s every year since 2013, which is when I started doing this, and one in the summer, one in the winter, and there's only so many times I can tell you how great and fun and exciting and engaging the MX-5 is. So instead, I'm going to dip into the personal side of Jay Canna, and I'll sprinkle in some relevant information about the vehicle, but this video is going to be about how the MX-5 was the car I drove through 2 fairly significant aspects of my life, how it helped me regain independence, find freedom. And you know, cars are a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and you know, I can't tell you exactly all the cars I've had at all the times off the top of my head, but I can tell you during significant parts of my life and significant events what car I was driving, and that's the part that sticks with me. My first MX-5 moment happened in September of 2014. So I was supposed to be married in October of 2014. I was called off in September. This is the press car that I had at the time. I usually put on anywhere from 300 to 500 clicks on a press car review. I think it was closer to 1,300, maybe 1,400 for that specific beat, because I drove and I drove, and understandably so, it was a pretty tense situation at home. And why the MX-5 stood out for me that specific week was I just wanted to be alone and on my own and figure out what happened, why it happened, and just do that whole complete analysis into the situation. And part of wanting to be alone is with the MX-5, it's a 2-seater, and I really felt like I connected with the car more than I would have had it been any other vehicle, whether it be luxury, non-luxury, whatever it is. And the MX-5 is small to begin with, so sometimes it feels like it's literally wrapped around you. And I'm an average guy, average height, average weight, so my 5'8" frame fits in here beautifully. You know, I guess it's one of the advantages of not being 6'3", 6'4". But as I did all those drives, I did drives in the morning, I went for short drives in the afternoon, I went for long drives at night. I still enjoyed the drive, but it was an effortless enjoyment. I didn't have to worry about specific performance metrics or really do anything over and above. I got in the car, and the MX-5 just felt like home for me. And I can legitimately, honestly, truly say that it helped being so close to the road. It's a small car, it's a roadster, and I love driving to begin with, regardless of what's happening in my life. But just having this specific vehicle at such a pivotal time in my life really helped find my independence again and help kind of find my freedom after everything was said and done. My second MX-5 moment came this time last year, so July of 2020, and here's your spoiler alert, has to do with a girl. So a 5-year relationship had come to an end, and at the time it was a shock to me. Looking back and reflecting, it wasn't a shock, or it shouldn't have been a shock, but at the time I felt like my world was just spun around, upside down, backwards, completely different axis, and it didn't even clue into me until the next morning. I'm like, wait a second, am I driving an MX-5 again? Like, I can never drive one of these again. It just seems to be bad luck, and I know it's only based off 2 things, but what are the odds? So similarly to what I did in 2014 and what I've done all along, if I want to think and really kind of do a deep dive into myself, I get in the car, I fill up the tank, I drive north for half a tank's worth of whatever the car is, and then I turn around and I come home. But it was different this time. I was a lot further ahead in my career. I had a stronger understanding of everything automotive related. And as weird as it sounds, I felt like I was an autopilot with the MX-5. You know, I knew when to do all my shifts. It still felt like that small car that was wrapped around me, and it kind of felt like a second homecoming in a way, in a weird way, because, you know, who wants to come back home to a second failed relationship? This relationship ending was a lot different than the engagement ending that happened back in 2014. I was a lot more self-aware. Clearly not self-aware enough, because anyways, self-deprecating humor, folks. It's not the worst thing out there. The MX-5 was the perfect traveling companion. It was the perfect road trip date because I was a lot further along in my career than I was back in 2014. I had a stronger knowledge and understanding of vehicles, how they worked, what I liked, and things to look out for. And it felt like I was on autopilot with the MX-5 last year. Again, same 181 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque, and same maneuverability, and the agility was here, very low to the ground. It's a two-seater. I really felt like I was alone, and that's what I wanted, and that's what I needed. I needed just to be with myself, and I couldn't have asked for a better vehicle to do that in, because of all the cars out there that I've driven, I find the strongest connection being with the MX-5. Just it's small, it's low to the ground. You just have that connection with the road, and to me, it really helped. It helped me sort myself out during that week, and yeah, I felt like I was on autopilot. I instinctively knew when to shift. I didn't have to look at the RPMs. I didn't have to listen as intently for the engine sounds to know, okay, that sounds like 2750, I should do my shifts. It's kind of like a Michael Knight and Kit kind of relationship that I have, at least through crappy breakups, but overall I still love the MX-5 for all that it is and for all that it's not. If you take the MX-5 for what it is, it's nearly a perfect roadster. Like the infotainment isn't the best. It's a little old and outdated, and the graphics are not high res, and the backup camera is not great. It does its job because it has to, because it's mandated by the Canadian government, and I'm sure there's other higher res cameras out there. But for what the MX-5 is, it's a perfect car for me. Soft top, hard top, automatic, manual, white leather seats, which is a new addition for 2021. I think it's $300, maybe $400 for it. But it's hard to find any faults. The analog HVAC system, the analog instrument cluster with a tiny little digital square that shows you what gear you're in. All of these contributed to me kind of just going back and figuring out who I was and why did this happen again. And on a personal side, I really think the MX-5 was a silent therapist for me, and I loved it. I didn't, and despite what was happening at home, when I was on the road and doing all the driving, I had so many conversations with the steering wheel of that 2020 MX-5, and I almost wanted to buy it because it was just such an influential time in my life, and it really helped again settle me and help me create a strategy for what to do next. I'm as single can be right now, and I kind of had a sigh of relief when I booked the MX-5 this year. Like, all right, I'm not dating anybody, nobody can break up with me, I can't end any relationship, there's just no chance of any kind of heartache happening, at least for these 7 days. And I've had an amazing time this year, 2021. I bought a kayak on July 2nd. I brought it home in a Ford Bronco. I had my first local paddles here in 2021 in Mississauga, and I strapped the kayak to this very car. I've done it 3 times. It's looked ridiculous. It's kind of looked like a clown car by having a 12-foot kayak on a 12-foot 8-inch length car. It's started a lot of conversations, and it genuinely makes me happy. MX-5 has a very firm part in the history of JCanna, the goods, the bads. A little side note, I've owned a Gen 1 Mazda 3, I've owned a Gen 2 Mazda 3, my brothers owned a Protege, so Mazda definitely has a little piece of my heart and a strong piece of my life, and it goes back to the freedom, you know, having my first car being the first gen Mazda 3. It gave me freedom. It got me all over Canada. It got me all over the United States. I just did so much driving. Same thing with the Gen 2. And back to the MX-5, I did so many kilometers. I went so many places in that week just to try and change my environment, location, atmosphere. And it worked. Any questions on the MX-5, let me know in the comments. I'll get you answers as soon as possible. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Feel free to tell somebody about the channel who you think might be interested in what I do. Be well, be healthy, be safe, and I will see you in the next video.